Hello, we are live. Bay Lady here. Guess I'll give it a minute and see, uh, wait for my audience to arrive. There's a little counter that tells me how many people are there, but I don't know how accurate it is because it never seems to get above one or two persons. Go figure. So I want to wait and give everybody an opportunity to, show up and not do anything. Oh, yeah, okay. I guess that's how you turn it on. Okay. Oh, this is an example. Okay. Isn't that interesting? Up and there's my tagline on there, the Bay Lady. Okay. I guess that's my banner. I'm just getting used to this platform. It's called StreamYard. And it's kind of cool because it allows me to stream to several platforms simultaneously. So right now, this one is going to YouTube and to Facebook because those are the only two that I've earned the right to use. I never was big on YouTube when I was on Hago. Actually, Hago was um, the first place that I ever did any live streaming like that. So I had a YouTube channel since 2015, maybe, but never used it. So I had like, I don't know, 8 followers. I don't even think that many. And I've always had a Facebook um, page, personal one. And then I added one once I went with Hago and decided I liked it. So back then, Hago crashed. And I was like a fish swimming in water, but not going anywhere. I had no home anymore. I had nowhere to go. And I tried a couple places, but they weren't quite what I needed. So I'm on my own now, all by myself, trying to keep the fun going, trying to, share my stuff with people and hopefully earn some tips along the way so I can keep on keeping on, right? So, but today we're doing a murder mystery. Um, there was a time when I was volunteering with a community theater. And as a fundraiser, we made a deal with one of the local burger joints, fast food places, to let us borrow their dining room once a month for 2 hours in the evening from 7 to 9. We would set up in the corner of the dining room and we would put on a murder mystery show. We would, have volunteers from the theater playing the different roles, and how we were able to make it a fundraiser was that for Wendy's, it worked for them for us to be there because it drew in a whole nother crowd. And for us, we got 20% of the food that was sold that night between 7 and 9. So, it kind of worked out for everybody when you've got some, steady business. And, we got a few bucks. And the more word got out, the more people came. And it was a nice partnership until it wasn't. But that was a few years ago. But I was kind of one of the managers. So I have copies of all the plays that we used. So this is today's Death is a cabaret, chum. Use your sleuthing skills to investigate the death of Cabernet Vintner, Malcolm Lee. LA. Anyway, these murder mystery um, plays are by Jack Patua, and he is the murder mystery internet guru. His plays are awesome. He has a website if you're interested in this kind of thing. It's mysteries dash on dash the dash net.com. Here, let me let you see it. Like, there we are. Right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, there you can see it. Okay. So he does all kinds of things, like he does these are available, for purchase, and uh, people also use them for parties. They have murder mystery parties in which, they invite their guests and they have them wear costumes or not, depends on, the level of participation that you're looking for. So what I've done is to take these murder mysteries and I've adapted them for this tour. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to give you all the information. I'm going to tell you the story. And then I'm going to share with you statements from the witnesses, notes, clues that come along, what have you, as we go through the notes and things. And you, of course, will have a chance to form your own opinion. This can be interactive, which is fine. And before we start, just a couple things. Let's see. For those of you that just came on, I'm the Bay Lady, and my name's Sharon. And if you like my tours, please be sure to follow me on Facebook and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll find the links where you found this information, no doubt. But if you go to my Facebook page, everything is there. This is a tip-based tour, which so that means that we rely on our viewers to, keep us going, basically. So if you like what you see and you're able, there's a link for you to buy me a coffee, and it's greatly appreciated. So, all right, so here we go. We'll go ahead and get into our play. Death is a Cabaret, Old Chum, by Jack Patua. All right, let's get ready here. All right. Here we go. Okay, welcome everyone. I hate to call you away from your families on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, but this case is important and we're going to need additional help to solve this crime. First of all, what we have is the death of the owner of the Melee Vineyards, and that would be Mr. Malcolm Malay. Okay, he was the owner of the vineyard. Okay, so basically what happened, it was an evening of wine and cheese at the Melee vineyards in the Nippy Valley, celebrating the winery's 10th anniversary. Owner Malcolm Mailey took great pride in pouring his world famous Mailey Cabernet, the wine that tickles the palates of wine connoisseurs around the globe. Over the past decade, his small operation has built a record of supplying a quality product, even though Melee's surly personality has produced more adversaries than advocates. The celebration was open to the public, and the assemblage included both his supporters and detractors, some of whom openly expressed their opinions about his business practices. They weren't shy. Mehdi simply laughed it off, didn't pay attention to the negative words, even dismissing the notion that someone was determined to end his reign as the Cabernet King. As the gathering broke up around midnight, Melee bade farewell to everyone and said that he would stay around to turn out the lights. But this morning it became deadly obvious that someone had planned lights out for Malcolm Melee. His body was found at the bottom of the staircase that leads to the oak casks in the wine cellar. Someone had put the cork on Melee and taken action that would squeeze the winery's reputation. Okay, so again, I am glad that you were able to come and help us with this case. As you can see, it's going to be an important one. For those of you that don't know me, I am Deputy Marshal Jenny Justice, and I have been asked by our Chief of Police here in Nippy Valley, Lawrence Law, to handle the investigation. He sent us a correspondence here, which I will read to you. It says, "Dear colleague, you were invited here to help investigate the death of Malcolm Melee, owner of the Melee Vineyard and Winery. His body was found this morning at the foot of the stairs leading to the wine cellar. At first, his death appeared to be an unfortunate accident, but now we believe it was premeditated murder. Last night, Melee hosted a celebration in honor of the winery's 10th anniversary. Over the past decade, his small operation has built a record of supplying a quality product. While you're here, I'll need your assistance with the murder investigation. You can help me out by meeting and observing the activities of the following individuals." Okay, now I've gone ahead and I have done that. I have met with the individuals that were on the list as witnesses, aka suspects, aka people of interest. There are a few, we've got 8. Okay, 8 subjects here that need our scrutiny. So the first one would be Pierre Lepine. Pierre Lepine is Malcolm's wine master. His proven success for making the perfect Cabernet was under scrutiny by Penny Pynchon. Malcolm apparently has a reputation for being a little tight with his money. Renee Melee is Malcolm's only child. She returned to the valley just last year to help her father run the winery. However, Renee and Malcolm didn't see eye to eye, nor divine. Stan Milton, he owns Milk Mart stores. There's one down the street there. The land on which the winery is located would be a perfect spot for his next mega-sized discount establishment. Nina Grigio is a writer for Wine Line magazine. Her discriminating palate can make or break any vintage. Important lady. Carter Cabot. He owns Cabot Vineyards, the competition. He suspected Malcolm was using unfair tactics to capture the lion's share of the Cabernet marketplace. Then we have Souvenir. She's the gift shop manager, and she sells bottles of Malay Cabernet and assorted trinkets to the winery visitors. Then Breakfast, he's the innkeeper. His B&B, the nippy Victorian house, is the most popular inn in the valley. And a bottle of Cabernet is a welcoming gift for all of his guests. Leela Eagle. Leela Eagle is an attorney at law. I've seen her around the courthouse. She hates to lose, and lately, for some unknown reason, she's been spending a lot of time researching information about the winery. Wonder if she has a drinking problem. Well, there you have it. Says happy sleuthing from Lawrence Law, Chief of Police. Now, probably we should go a little bit, tell you a little bit about the wine that is this orchard's signature. This is what Malcolm is known for. This is his pride and joy. It's enjoyed by wine connoisseurs around the world. Okay, it's this is the 2011 bottle. Must be a good wine. But this is the Cabernet Sauvignon, the 10th anniversary of this wine. Let's see, what does it say here about it? This 10th anniversary vintage of Méli Cabernet Sauvignon is certain to tickle discriminating palates and make wine connoisseurs swoon with delight. Containing a traditional Bordeaux process of winemaking, the owner takes great pride in the quality of his award-winning products. The soil and weather conditions in the Nippy Valley, complemented by the skill of winemaster Pierre Lapine, have resulted in a wine that exudes the magnificent aroma of blueberries, leather, and pepper. Its medium body with upfront briar fruits and soft plums make this wine dusty dry, leading to a lingering diplomatic aftertaste, whatever that means. The perfect wine to serve with lamb and game. This red wine takes one to a time when ruby red grapes were crushed into juice by vineyard workers wearing rawhide boots, then aged to perfection in large oak casks before being served at feasts throughout the French countryside. Interesting story about our wine, yes? All right. Now, what I have for you, I took the liberty of interviewing our 8 witnesses, we'll call them for now. I made some notes about their, their personal information to give us some insight into the person. And I took their statements as well, which I will read you after the notes. Okay, first on my list, first one I interviewed was the daughter of the Cabernet King. Okay, this is Renee Maley, 35 years old, born on the East Coast. Her, let's see, her father was in the publishing world, had a magazine, and let's see, ran Navy magazine as well. So her mother was French by birth. Her parents go way back with Malcolm when he was backpacking through Europe and still in college. That's how long they've known him. Let's see, what else? The parents were married 43 years ago. When she was 16, or when Renee was 16, her mother unexpectedly died in an auto accident. Her father was out of town on business. Apparently, that was something that he did a lot. Wasn't much of a stay-at-home parent. Anyway, she's never forgiven him for not being there and the way he handled her mother's death. Okay, so here's what Miss Renee Malay has to say about her father. Her statement reads as follows: I still can't believe my father is dead. The police are saying it could be a homicide, but I'm sure it was just a tragic accident. He must have slipped on the steps as he was going down into the wine cellar to turn out the lights. It was only during the last year that I really got to know my father. He was tough, showed very little emotion, and did whatever he needed to get what he wanted. Yes, he was difficult to live with, but I think he was beginning to mellow. Only four of us, my father, Pierre, Sue, and I, run the entire operation, along with some part-time help when it's time to harvest the grapes. Because we were preparing for last night's wine and cheese reception, the tours that I usually lead were canceled yesterday. Sue and I cleaned the main building while Pierre was away buying supplies. I was surprised at how many people showed up. The event was scheduled from 7 to 10, but some people were around much later. I left about 11:45. I was so tired that my father told me just to go to bed. He said he'd stay and turn out the lights. I don't know why the lights in the wine cellar were on in the first place. No one was supposed to have been down there last night. I fell asleep very quickly. This morning, Pierre woke me up and said he'd found my father on the floor of the wine cellar dead. Who knows what will happen to the winery now? If I inherit it, I just might sell it. Okay. Next up is Pierre Lepine. He is the master, the wine master, I believe they alluded to. Let's see, wine master, 40 years old. His father was the brother of Malcolm Maley's deceased wife. So Pierre is Malcolm's nephew, and Pierre also has an older brother by the name of Paul. His grandfather, Pierre's grandfather, owned a small winery. His name was Roland Lepine. And his aunt had met Malcolm when they were backpacking, still in college. Okay, so that backs up what Renee had been talking about, how her parents met. The family has been vintners for more generations than they can count. In fact, their wine traditions go back to the Middle Ages. Whoa, that's interesting. And also, Pierre studies Middle Ages, medieval life, and such. And he is an archer as well. All right, what he said when we asked for his statement goes as follows. Bonjour, everyone. What a sad thing to happen on such a happy night. Malcolm had been planning the celebration for a long time. I thought he would want to offer more than just cheese, but no matter. He knows how much we can spend. I, of course, am the wine master. The wonderful reputation of Meili Cabernet is the result of my venting process, from which dates back to the Middle Ages. I brought it here from Bordeaux 8 years ago. I'm sure you've read the articles in all of the wine magazines. We produce wines that have such wonderful bouquets. I am in the wine cellar almost every day. Yesterday morning, I checked to make sure that all was well. Then, about 8 o'clock, I left to purchase supplies: yeast, molds, bacteria, the ingredients that produce such quality wines. I returned about an hour before the reception was to start. I went to my cottage and to clean it up and to prepare myself to greet our visitors. Our wines are so popular that many people showed up to sample our new vintages. Even Monsieur Cabernet, who mistakenly thinks his wines are superior to ours. Yes, it was I who found Malcolm's body this morning. He was at the bottom of the stairs. I could see he'd fallen because his head was bleeding and he wasn't breathing. I notified Renee and then called the police. Farewell, Malcolm. We'll all drink to you. Okay. Next on the hit parade, this is Souvenir, the gift shop owner and operator. Souvenir, 36 years old, born on the West Coast. Her family as well has been operating vineyards in the Nippy Valley for over 100 years. Let's see, she went to grade school and high school in the valley and then went to work at the vineyards. Veneer Vineyards, which her parents owned, helping out whenever she could. Let's see. She didn't go to college. She stayed at home to help the family run the operation. And the winery at the time had a small gift shop, and her father put her in charge of it on her 21st birthday. Let's see. 2 years later, her father hired another employee to fill in where needed. That's how she met Renee Millay, daughter of Malcolm Millay. Okay, her statement goes as follows. Souvenir says, so much goes on at a winery. Who really knows what happened? I've been around wine all of my life, and I know that just one slip, one wrong step, and everything can change. In the 2 years that I've worked here, even the gift shop has changed a lot. I've added more things that our visitors can buy. I always invite them in for a cup of tea and to chat. They like that. Since the gift shop is next to Malcolm's office, I know how hard he worked to build our reputation. He was always on the phone, writing letters or sending emails to someone. He knew so many people from his days with the magazine that it seemed like he could do whatever he wanted to. Yesterday, Renee and I worked most of the day to clear the main building, scrubbing, dusting, and sweeping. I swept and washed the stairs too. The light by the door at the top of the stairs only turns on the light at the top of the stairway. The main switches for all the cellar lights are down there. I don't go to the wine cellar much because I'm very busy in the gift shop, but I could swear all of the lights were off when I finished cleaning. I left early last night, about 10 o'clock. I live down the road in a small apartment. I know what Renee must be going through right now. It's so difficult to lose a parent, especially when it seems so senseless. Things at this winery always seem to be changing. And there you have it from Sue Bonilla. Okay. Somebody handed me a copy of the newspaper, the Nippy Valley Grapevine, squeezing every bit of news from the valley. Let's see. It kicks off with the body of the wine king there. Okay, it shows the basement and the stairs where his body was found. Okay, what does it say? The wine cellar. The body of the owner was found at the bottom of the staircase early this morning. So there you have a nice upfront look at the crime scene itself. Whoops. I could hold it still and hold it straight. That would be real good. Okay, what else? Oh, plans for Mega Mart move ahead. That Milk Mart place, right? That's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, what else do we have? Here is a diagram of the main building at the vineyard. Okay, so you can picture in your mind, there's a location of the gift shop, right? And there's the wine tasting area. Okay, it kind of gives you a little more of the lay of the land, I think. All right, our fourth suspect. One Mr. Carter Cabernet. What about him? 55 years old, lives in the valley. His parents ran the company business, a winery, of course. Let's see. He never married. He has 3 younger brothers, all of them in the wine business. Let's see. He's an expert, having worked for his family. His winery, along with the one that the Vanier family owned, were the original vineyards in the valley. Okay. Now, his story, or I'm sorry, his statement, Mr. Carter Cabot, his statement is as follows. I can't say I'll miss Malcolm Melee. The previous owners of the winery were friendly competitors. By comparison, I describe Malcolm as being cutthroat. I know he was using unfair tactics to build his wine's reputation in the marketplace, something I'd never do. The playing field just wasn't level. Now maybe it will be. Yes, I was there last night. I stopped by to keep track of the competition on a regular basis. And I can say without any hesitation that Cabernets are superior to Malay Cabernets, no matter what Pierre says. I got there about 8 o'clock and talked to some of the people I know here in the valley. I didn't know Stan Milton would be there, but I've wanted to meet him for a long time. So I admit I cornered him and picked his brain about the milk marts and his plans for them. Malcolm Melee may have been successful, but he didn't provide much to eat last night. The cheese was good, but with his money, he could have done a lot better. I left about 10:30 and went straight home. And one more thing, although I can't tell you all the details right now, you'll soon see Cabernets in stores all across the nation. That's right. We're finally getting the recognition we deserve, says Mr. Carter. Okay, our fifth suspect. I trust you all are taking notes. I see all those iPads out there. Okay, Nina Grigio. Okay, she is a writer for Wine Line magazine. Now, remember that Malcolm has ties to the publishing world too. So Nina, 48 years old. Oh, she was born in Wisconsin. Her family grew cranberries. They were cranberry growers. And she has three brothers. The oldest one is running the family cranberry business. Let's see. She went to the nearby state university and got herself a degree in journalism and began her writing career 25 years ago, starting off with a magazine by the name of Malay Magazine. Yes, the founder and publisher was our own Malcolm Malay, and she worked for him back in the day. Okay, let's see now. What she said in her statement is as follows. Before all of you leave, check with me to make sure I spell your names correctly. After all, as a writer, I'd like to make sure I get everything right, even though some of you might disagree with that. Or I might disagree with her little preamble statement here, right? Okay. So she goes on, she says, I knew Malcolm Nele for a lot longer than most of you realize. If any of you want to know what the real Malcolm was like, just check with me. I can tell you. If you've been reading my articles in Wine Line, you'll know that I've said a lot of good things about Malay Cabernets. Malcolm owed me a lot. If it wasn't for me, his wines wouldn't have gotten everyone's attention. People around the world have contacted me to find out more about his wines. That's the power that the printed word has. I arrived at the winery at about 7:30 last night and circulated in order to get everyone's opinion about Malcolm's wines. It just, I saw many people that I'd known for years, and it just shows how much publicity Malcolm was able to get. I left about the same time Sue did. Each vintage is unique, and just because a wine is good one year doesn't mean the quality will stay the same. That's why I want all of you to read my article in next month's Wine Line. You may be surprised at what I have to say, and I promise to spell your names correctly. This just in, I've got an official correspondence here from the Homicide Division. Investigative report. The following facts have been discovered as part of our ongoing investigation into the death of Malcolm Melee. Malcolm Melee died of intracranial bleeding caused by a fractured skull. Intracranial bleeding caused by a fractured skull. He also had a fractured right hip. Both injuries are consistent with a fall down a staircase. The coroner estimates the time of death to be midnight. The bottom 8 stairs of the staircase had marks, gouges, and traces of blood and tissue. This is likewise consistent with a body having fallen down the staircase. Horizontal linear bruises were found on Melee's right ankle and on the bone located on the top of Melee's left foot. Scraps of leather and rawhide were on the floor of the wine cellar, scattered from the middle of the staircase to the small room at the rear of the cellar. The lights in the wine cellar were on when the body was found. Well, that gives us some more information so far. Death to be midnight. Everybody left just before then, it seems like. And let's see, he had a fractured skull, a fractured right hip, and bruises on the right ankle. And then, and also on the bone on top of his left foot. I'm just trying to think of positions. How did he twist going downstairs? We don't know if he landed face down, face up. That's just my questioning, my sleuthing skills kicking in. Hope you all are taking notes. If anybody has any questions, feel free to use the chat. This is supposed to be interactive anyway. Okay. So next up, suspect number 6, 2 more to go after this. All right, we've got Ben Breakfast. He owns the Nippy Victorian Inn, which is the most popular B&B in Nippy Valley, and looks like it's located right next door to the wine tasting room, so on the property of the vineyard, I suppose. Let's see. She was born in the Rocky Mountains 39 years ago. Her parents owned a small eatery in a skiing town. So they weren't in the wine business. Probably the only ones over there that weren't, right? Okay, so let's see, 39 years old. She used to wait tables and help out in her parents' eatery. So she also has a experience in retail sales, as do most of our witnesses seem to have. La, la, la. She was intrigued. Oh, she waited on tables and went to college and earned a degree in computer science. And she became fascinated in selling advanced equipment to clients, throughout the states. And she was successful at what she did, but then apparently she kind of burnt out and instead went to work at different hotels and such. Um, let's see, one of the places that she worked was owned by a family with ties to Native Americans, and that's how he developed his interest in archery. Old Ben Breakfast here. Okay, so. All right, so Ben Breakfast also gave us a statement. It goes like this. So the Cabaret King is dead. Things in the valley will definitely change now. You can't go anywhere around here without hearing the name Malcolm Melee. I just hope that the French Wine Fest keeps going. Pierre has put a lot of work into it, and my friends just love the gear he makes from those hides. He's a real expert at fabricating all sorts of equipment. 10 years in the business is quite an accomplishment. I've only owned my inn for 3 years, and I know how much work it takes to get recognized as being the best. I wonder what will happen now. Malcolm controlled everything. So I guess I want to let Renee know that I'm here to help if she needs me. Quite a gathering they had last night. I got there about 8:30. A lot of people were mingling. Carter Cabot was there talking with Stan Milton, huddled over in a corner. It looked as if they didn't want anyone else to hear what they were saying, all the whispers and such. The door to the staircase leading to the wine cellar was closed. It can be a dangerous place down there if you don't know where you're walking. Sometimes you can even scrape your head on one of the hides that are hanging from the ceiling. I talked to a lot of people before leaving at about 11 o'clock. The cheese was gone by that time and everything was breaking up anyway. I was shocked when I heard the news this morning. Says good old Ben Breakfast. Our seventh person of interest is Stan Milton, who owns the Milk Marts. It's a chain of huge discount department stores that are mostly located in rural areas around the country. Let's see. He is 52 years old, born in a city near the Ozarks. His parents ran a corner store, and he became interested in the retailing business. When he graduated from high school, he decided to forego college and open a small store. That led to bigger stores and bigger stores. And soon he had a vision of saturating the nation with milk marts. Let's see. He is a friend of Layla Eagle, the attorney. He's known her for 20 years. Let's see. He met her when he had owned several stores and was going to court for various lawsuits. So she went to work for him at some point, defending him in these various lawsuits that he would file or would be filed against him. Okay, her Stan's statement. You've probably all read the newspaper this morning, so it won't surprise you that I'm here. The Nippy Valley has been growing so quickly that it's the perfect place for a new milk mart. Based upon recent occurrences, I believe the property I have my eye on will soon be available. That's right, it won't be long before you'll be able to get the same great merchandise here in the valley that other people have been able to buy for years. I know you're as excited about that as I am. One thing you can be certain of, Stan Milton always operates in an ethical manner. Not every business person can say that. It bothers me that some people think they're allowed to do anything they want to just because they can. Well, what goes around comes around. I was interested in meeting Malcolm Lilley in person, so I got to the reception at about 7:45. The two of us had talked on the phone a long time ago, but we'd never met face to face. The things I'd like to learn about him were all true. After about 15 minutes, Carter Cabot introduced himself and wanted to talk business. I tried to move on, but he just kept talking. He should know by now that some things just take a little time. I left about 9:30 and went to my room at the Nippy Victorian Inn, Ben's place. I'm the kind of person who likes to take matters into my own hands. That's why I'm here in the valley. All right. Does anybody have any people high on their person of interest list? Here is our final suspect, Miss Leela Eagle. All right, Leela Eagle, born 47 years ago in the Ozark Mountains. Her parents sold produce at a farmer's market. She has 6 siblings, all of whom still live close to the parents' farm. Leela went to local community college and eventually finished the bachelor's degree at State College. She's always been someone with a competitive nature, and the legal field suited her perfectly. Let's see, she got her law degree at night and passed the bar exam and began practicing at a local law firm until she met Stan Milton, and she became his attorney for his business purposes and such. Her statement, typical lawyer. No comment. That's right. I can't reveal privileged information. Any good attorney will tell you that. And I'm not just a good attorney, I'm a great attorney. Ask my clients. Who are they? No comment. That's privileged. I will tell you this, though. Malcolm Mele wasn't exactly who you thought he was. He had baggage, if you know what I mean. And if anyone is good at finding out where those bags are located, I am. How do I do it? No comment. Privileged information. I arrived at the event last night at 7:45. I didn't talk to anyone. I feel that it's better to listen than to speak. You learn more that way. What did I listen to? No comment. Privileged information. Let's just say Malcolm didn't have too many friends out there. If he was still around, he'd have a tough time keeping that reputation for quality wine. Once critics are fickle people, one day they say one thing, the next day it's the opposite. What did I do last night? And when did I leave? No comment. No, it's not privileged information. It's just none of your business. All right. The moment of truth has arrived. So I've shared with you all of my notes, everything that you need to consider. You're looking for means, motive, and opportunity. Okay. Who had the means to be able to shove Malcolm down the stairs? Who had the motive? Who had most to gain by Malcolm's death? Now, all of these people were business owners. How would the loss of his vineyard affect those businesses? Right? How indeed? How would that work? And then opportunity. Okay. Who had the time to do the crime? Who snuck back in there at midnight when Malcolm went downstairs, long after everyone supposedly left? So let's go over our suspects again. You've got Pierre Lepine. Okay. He's the wine master. He works directly with Malcolm, and Malcolm controls the purse strings. Let's see, Pierre being the wine master, well, he needs to buy supplies to make his wine, correct? And if he referred to Malcolm as penny pinching, so perhaps that is a motive for Pierre. What that means an opportunity. Renee, his daughter, Renee Millay. Would she kill her father? What did she have to gain? She was there helping him run the winery. But would she inherit it if he passes away? She said that if she did, she would sell it. So would she have no interest then? Or, on the other hand, you've got Stan Milton, the milk mart dude. He wants to buy that land that the uh, the winery sits on. He wants that land to build another huge discount store. What if Renee knows that and she plans to sell to Milton, Stan Milton, and cash in very well, very generously with the sale of that property. Next, we have Nina. Okay, Nina Grigio, the writer. She writes for Wine Line magazine. I'm not sure how much the publishing world is figuring into this. Several of our main people here have ties to it, including the deceased. Okay, he was a newspaper person, a publisher before he was running a winery. Interesting. Carter Cabot, owner of Cabot Vineyards. Well, he's definitely in direct competition with Malay Vineyards. Definitely, they're in the same town, and they serve the same, marketplace. And so I suppose that if Malcolm's business was sold on his death, that would leave everything wide open for Carter Cabot to get out his wine. Souvenir. She runs the gift shop. She sells bottles of wine, the Malay Cabernet, and she has assorted trinkets that she sells to the visitors to the winery, souvenirs and trinkets and whatnot. Ben Breakfast, innkeeper, the nippy Victorian house, is supposedly the most popular, sought after inn to stay at in the valley. And he's noted for leaving everyone a bottle of wine. Every guest, when they check in, will find a bottle of wine in their room. And then we've got Leela Eagle, attorney at law. She doesn't like to lose. She is a bit abrasive. For some reason, recently, she spent a lot of time researching information about the winery. For what reasons? I don't know. Her legal mind might have something to do with the Milt Mart situation. Do we think? Do we know? I don't know. All right. Well, there you have it. You need motive, means, and opportunity. One more time, let's go down the lineup. We've got Pierre, the wine master, Renee, Malcolm's only child, Stan, the Milk Mart store dude, Nina, the writer for the wine magazine, Carter, who has his own vineyards, Cabot Vineyards, Souvenir, the gift shop manager, Ben Breakfast, the nippy Victorian house innkeeper, and Leela Eagle, attorney at law. All right. You'll want a few minutes to think, to vote, see if you know who the killer is. The information here are my thoughts. This is the final result. This is what we have deduced from our examination of the evidence with help from the homicide division and our interviews with the people of interest, 8 of them, and also the statements that they gave us. So having reviewed all that, I think we're ready to go forward now with our findings. All right. To solve this case, 3 things are considered: motive, means, and opportunity. First, motive. Who had motive? Renee Millay, Malcolm's only child. Father and daughter have had a difficult time through the years because Malcolm callously handled his wife's death when Renee was just a teenager. Shantae Millay died in an auto accident while Malcolm was negotiating a contract. Rather than return immediately, Malcolm sealed his deal before catching a flight home. Renee was very close to her mother and very distant from her father. Her latest attempt to mend fences started a year ago when she returned to the valley to help Malcolm run the winery. Renee also had an ulterior motive for the move, but more about that later. Malcolm had mellowed, but could Renee truly forgive the past? Pierre Lepain, the wine master at Malay Winery. Pierre is the son of Shantae's brother and is therefore Malcolm's nephew and also Renee's cousin. After marrying Shantae, Malcolm cut off contact with the Lepain family, who had vinted wines for generations. Pierre brought that expertise to the valley, along with an interest in fabricating medieval clothing and gear. He would hang hides in the wine cellar to keep them moist, then hide them and shrink them in his workroom. Then heat them and shrink them in his workroom. They were featured at the French Wine Fest, which was Pierre's brainchild. Lately, Malcolm had begun pinching pennies. He encouraged Pierre to shortcut the vinting process and complained about any little thing that might cost extra money. He constantly reminded Pierre to turn off the lights in the wine cellar. The thought of changing his proven process of winemaking frustrated Pierre. He would not do it. But what would happen if Malcolm persisted? Souvenir. She's the gift shop lady. She is a gift shop manager at May Winery. She's the daughter of Lou and Hugh Veneer, who was the winery's previous owners. Property had been in Sue's family for 100 years until Malcolm got it 10 years ago below market value. Sue now knows that Malcolm worked behind the scenes to discourage other potential buyers. She can't help but feel that Malcolm had cheated her parents out of a substantial amount of money. She took the job at the winery 2 years ago to serve as someone else's eyes and ears. And so the plot thickens. Carter Calvert, owner of Cabernets and Malay's fiercest competitor, Carter couldn't understand why Malay's wines were being extolled while his wines received no critical acclaim. Then, via his brother Kramer, a wine merchant, he discovered that Malay had used payoffs and pressure to get his rave reviews and market share. Now, though, oh, come on, fingers. Okay, now, though, redemption is at hand. Kramer is in the process of negotiating a contract with Stan Milton's organization to private label Cabernets with the Milk Market logo. It would provide exposure and, of course, revenue. Nina Grigio, writer for Wine Line magazine. Nina's association with Malcolm dates back 19 years. That's when he hired her to write for Méli magazine. After interviewing such entrepreneurs as Stan Milton, she was recognized for her writing style, winning awards and gaining notoriety. That's when she did what many other writers at Méli magazine were doing. She made up facts in order to make a splash. But her actions resulted in a massive lawsuit. Rather than fight it, Malcolm settled out of court, fired Nina, and said he'd tell no one why she was sacked so long as Nina would help him when he asked for a favor. Nina eventually found a job with Wine Line, and when Malcolm bought the winery, he called in his maker. He insisted that Nina give his cabarets excellent reviews. At the risk that her past indiscretion would be revealed, she complied. In reality, Nina feels that Carter Cabot's wines are better than Malay's. Ben Breakfast, owner of the Nippy Victorian Inn. Ben and Renee are old friends. They worked together several years ago in the mountains at the Copper Hotel. Ben had always talked about owning his own inn, and when he excitedly told Renee that he had purchased one, she was less than excited to find out that it was near her father's winery. Yet last year she moved to the valley to be with her father and near Ben. Ben was glad to see her and was anxious to find out where the relationship might lead. And Ben shares an interest with Pierre. Both are archers, making their own equipment out of wood, rawhide, feathers, and flint or iron. They are members of the Nippy Valley Bowmen, and Ben is the president-elect. Both are very proficient at working with leather. Stan Milton, owner of Miltmart Megastores. Stan feels that the perfect spot for his next Miltmart is on the land on which the Malay winery is located. He's done his research about Malcolm and was thoroughly disgusted with Malcolm's business practices. So putting him out of business would be a pleasure. He retained someone to keep a file on Malcolm, and to find out more about the winery. That's how he found out that Malcolm's payoffs and bribes had put Malay Winery in financial peril. Yet the bullheaded Malcolm would never sell. However, perhaps his only heir, Renee, would. Leela Eagle, attorney at law. Leela met Stan 20 years ago and has been retained by him for special legal projects ever since. The latest, get the dirt on Malcolm and grease the skids for the new milk mart. In turn, Leah recruited Souvenir to spy on Malcolm. The gift shop is next door to Malcolm's office. And when Malcolm was gone, Sue would rummage through the office. She would find information that was to feed Layla and turn into Stan Milton. Layla had been promised a huge bonus by Stan if she can find a way to take Malcolm out of the picture. Leela offered part of that bonus to Sue. So there we have 8 suspects, 8 motives. They all have a motive for faring better without Malcolm in their world. Now for means. What at first might look like a tragic accident becomes a homicide when the facts are totally investigated. The injuries to Malcolm's head and hip were consistent with a fall down the stairs. Malcolm was indeed killed by that fall, but what caused the fall? The bruises on his legs provide the critical evidence. The investigative report describes horizontal linear bruises on Malcolm's right ankle and left talus bone. Malcolm was walking down the stairs when something tripped him. The report says that the bottom 8 stairs reflected the marks of a fall. Looking at the photo that appeared on the front page of today's Nippy Valley Grapevine, hang on, let's get that back. Okay, whoops. Let me get this in there. Right. Okay, so, where am I? All right. Looking at the photo that appeared on the front page of today's Nippy Valley Grapevine, it's apparent that the bottom 8 steps are in the shadows and a perfect spot for a tripwire that would cause the bruises to Malcolm's legs. Yet no mention is made of the tripwire being found. How could that be? How could a tripwire have disappeared? The report mentions scraps of leather and rawhide on the floor to the wine cellar, remnants of Pierre's work in making his gear and equipment for archery. Oops. The photo in the picture confirms their existence. Could they be the means for the murder? Talking with either Pierre or Ben, who are both proficient in working with rawhide, it can be determined that rawhide, when placed in boiling water, shrinks quickly and becomes brittle. Yes, the rawhide indeed was the murder weapon. But who would have had the opportunity to set the trap? Pierre is in the wine cellar often, but he was away from the winery all day purchasing supplies. Ben doesn't have any keys to the cellar, and he couldn't have set the trap. Someone else did it. Someone who had mastered one additional skill. The rawhide tripwire had to have been tied to the boards of the staircase with slip knots that would release quickly when pressure was exerted on them. The brittle rawhide would then break into little pieces that blend in nicely with the rest of the rawhide remnants in the wine cellar. Think about that. But how would Malcolm be encouraged to go down the stairs into the cellar after last night's event? That was the easy part. Lately, Malcolm had become quite frugal, making sure that all of the lights were turned off at night. If the lights were left on in the wine cellar, he'd have to go downstairs to turn them off. The photo in the newspaper shows that the light switches are in the cellar, and Malcolm would never detect the smell of wet rawhide. The label on the bottles of Malay's new Cabernet Sauvignon says that the wine has the aroma of blueberries, pepper, and leather. Yes, leather. The leather smell was well known to Malcolm and not at all uncommon to find in the wine cellar. That's how, yesterday afternoon, someone set a trap. Someone who regularly boiled water and sold books on knot tying, cleaned the steps, turned on the lights in the wine cellar, then tied the shrinking rawhide across a shadowy step on the staircase. That same person closed the door to the wine cellar, then left the reception early to be in bed when the trap was sprung, realizing that Malcolm would be the last one to leave so that he could turn out the lights. What do you think? The final moment of truth? The killer was Souvenir. Souvenir performed the dastardly death task. I hope you all enjoyed that. It was fun. This is fun to do when we would do them live at the hamburger place for the community theater. We didn't know who the killer was till the end. They keep that information separate, and ask that you don't share it until the proper moment. I'll show you what it looks like this. Oh, hey, isn't it great? Did you? Oh, my goodness. You love it. Oh, you know what, Ronnie Lynn? Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you came. You're typing, you're corresponding. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Nobody else has, is why I'm saying that. Cool. I had stopped looking. That's good. Oh my goodness. So did you catch any of it? It was pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I try to do these once a month. So I don't know how this platform is working so much. I can't really tell. It only ever shows that there's one or two people on here, and you're the first one to use the chat. Yay, Ronnie! My goodness. But I don't know. I think I need to experiment more with it. There's got to be more to this. So my initial idea was to hook up with Rickshaw. They seem to have a lot of cool things. You know, some of the things that Hago had, and some other things that they didn't that were kind of cool. But he never got it together yet. I don't know. The computer uh, difficulties since April. But anyway, well, I am going to go here. When do I? Oh, my next tour is Wednesday, Fort McHenry. It's Flag Day, so we're going to go to Fort McHenry and see their flag and other stuff too. It's a really cool place. So, thank you, everybody. Love you too. Tried to advertise. Okay, yeah, I should do that. Really, I know you have. I've seen you. Cool, cool. I'm glad. I'm trying. I like doing this. I like having fun. So, hmm. Anyway, take care, Ronnie. Maybe I'll see you on Wednesday. All right. You're welcome. Bye.